I was abandoned by my family due to my golden sister's success. Now she's begging for help as the family business falls apart. Hello Reddit. I 30 to F never imagined that I would be sharing my entire being online. But here I am. My life was completely appended in a way I never anticipated. I was expelled from the house by my parents. And why? Because I managed to pay for my MBA without their invaluable assistance, and my sister 36F, the golden child, couldn't tolerate it. Although it's a lengthy tale, I need to, and perhaps you guys might provide some guidance or simply a virtual shoulder to weep on. Allow me to illustrate the dynamics of my family for you. I've always been the underdog, the last in line, and the one who never quite fits in. It was obvious from the beginning that my sister was the favorite. Growing up in a suburban community just outside of Chicago, my folks would hold a parade if she received an A. It was like, oh cool, what's for dinner? If I received an A, you understand, Sarah, my sister, was always the center of attention. She seemed to do better at everything without really trying, and she was more attractive and gregarious. School plays. She took the lead. Captain of a sports team. Naturally, grades. Perfect scores. I was the awkward, bookish kid who didn't want to be in the spotlight and would rather sit in my room and code. My parents were enamored with Sarah as if she were a prodigy. When she enrolled in a prestigious business school, they covered everything, including her tuition, fashionable clothes, her apartment in a fancy area of town, and even her excursions to Cancun over spring break. They were often boasting to anyone who would listen about their successful daughter because they were so proud of her. I kept my head down and assumed I would have to handle things alone in the interim. Despite taking out loans and working part-time jobs during my time in college, I was still able to earn honors in computer science. But was there a celebration for me? No, my mother just said, "Dear, that's nice. Have you looked at the pictures from Sarah's graduation? Wasn't she beautiful?" In the present, I have spent the last few years managing projects for a digital company. Although it pays the bills and is a fine job, I'm looking for more. One day, I hope to launch my own business, rise in my job, or even get into top management. I, therefore, made the decision to apply to a respectable university's MBA program. The catch: the cost of tuition is extremely high, 6 figures, to be exact. I had the hope that my parents might lend me some support. After all, they funded Sarah's whole schooling. Right after a family supper one evening, I sat them down, and to my astonishment, the topic of conversation revolved around Sarah's most recent achievement at the family restaurant. I outlined my strategy, gave them an overview of the school, described how it would advance my career, and then tactfully brought up the topic of tuition. The expressions on their faces made it seem as though I had asked them to sell their kidneys or something. They informed me outright that they couldn't pay my tuition, which is fine. I understand that MBAs are costly, but the fact that they refused to even co-sign a loan was what really infuriated me. I only wanted their assistance so I wouldn't be drowning in debt for the rest of my life not to pay for everything. Their logic: we have already covered Sarah's tuition. Now is the time to consider our future. The worst part is that they also intended to grow the family restaurant. It seemed like they were investing all of their savings in that. What I was hearing was unbelievable. So, you could afford Sarah's entire education, but you can't even co-sign a loan for me. Trying to speak steadily, I asked, "Well, honey, Sarah's education was an investment in the family business." My mother boldly said, "You have an MBA, that's only for you, isn't it?" Only for me, as if I weren't related to them, as if they didn't care about my success. I was at a loss. My parents seemed to be putting unnecessary barriers in my path, but I didn't want to miss this chance when it came to me. They had to be prudent and frugal, but they had no trouble spending a lot of money on Sarah. I had no choice but to ask my Aunt Margaret. Now, let me tell you that my dad's older sister, Aunt Margaret, is quite different from my parents. To be honest, She is far more successful than both of them and works as a neurosurgeon. She has always been nice to me, though, and she's also quite grounded. There was always this strange tension between her and my parents at family get-togethers. They would pretend to be courteous, but I could tell they were resentful of her success in comparison to their own. In particular, my dad detested feeling like he was overshadowed by her. When I was younger, I overheard arguments in which my dad accused Aunt Margaret of being conceited and defaming him. At first, I wasn't particularly interested in involving her, but I was desperate. One day, I contacted her to see whether she would be able to assist me with the tuition. I described the circumstances, my parents' refusal to assist, and the significance of this MBA to me. Aunt Margaret made no hesitation at all. "Of course, I'll help," she said. "Why didn't you approach me earlier? It would be an honor for me to invest in your future, because I've always believed you have a lot of promise." I felt so grateful, but I was also afraid my dad would find out. He would go crazy if he found out that I had approached his sister behind his back to request money. In order to keep it a secret, I pleaded with Aunt Margaret. Recognizing the complicated family dynamics at work, she concurred. After that, everything was well for a time since my tuition was paid for and I was preparing to begin my MBA school. I assumed I was safe. I felt both anxious and optimistic about the future. I felt like I was winning for once. Sarah made the decision to wreck everything. At that point, I'm still not sure how she learned that I had asked Aunt Margaret for assistance. Perhaps she snooped through my emails when I wasn't looking, or perhaps she overheard a call. However, she did discover, and as the golden child that she is, she was unable to ignore it. She had to make it into a large theatrical spectacle. After a long day at work, I was thrilled to share some news about my impending MBA orientation when I got home one evening. However, I could sense a problem as soon as I entered the room. The home was eerily silent, and the air felt heavy with stress. My heart fell as I walked to the living room. Everything I owned, including my books, clothes, and even my bedding, was put up in boxes. I felt as though the house was erasing me. Sarah was standing off to the side with this smug, self-satisfied expression on her face, while my parents were seated on the couch, their emotions a mixture of disappointment and rage. I had the impression that I had entered a perverse intervention. My father wasted no time. "Explain this," he asked, tossing me a pile of papers. I picked up the papers with trembling hands, not understanding a word he was saying. I became aware that Sarah had completely lost her mind at that point. She had created these fictitious emails between Aunt Margaret and me, giving the impression that I was betraying the family. The emails gave the impression that I had given Aunt Margaret the trade secrets of our family restaurant in return for her covering my tuition, recipes, supplier details, and even the restaurant's finances were discussed. I didn't really have access to any of these things, but Sarah did. My eyes were unbelievable. After looking through my laptop, Sarah discovered several emails that I had sent with Aunt Margaret, which she subsequently altered using Photoshop or some other program. She painted me as a traitor of some sort, as though I had betrayed our family. I was taken aback. "This isn't real." I stumbled my way out. "These emails are fraudulent. I would never do this." My parents, however, didn't even pay attention. My mom was crying as they stood there, and my dad was furious and red-faced. He said, "We trusted you, and you stabbed us in the back." They trusted Sarah, regardless of what I said. Since they obviously did, she was always believed by them. It felt as though I had vanished from the world, and that all the years I had spent being a good daughter, working hard, and never getting into trouble were in vain. I knew then and there that I would always be second best in their eyes. They would always have doubts about me. My father said, "You must go." In a chilly tone, "We won't have a traitor in this house." I pleaded with them to think again. I made an effort to clarify the MBA and how Aunt Margaret was only assisting me, much like they had assisted Sarah. My parents didn't care, but I didn't want to burden Aunt Margaret, especially since she had already promised to cover my tuition. They claimed I was a traitor and refused to interact with me. Sarah simply stood there the entire time, her arrogant expression never changing. Her eyes said louder than words could. She had prevailed. The sister whom she always viewed as a rival was finally gone. That was it. I only had a few boxes of my belongings and the clothing on my back when I fled. I noticed the neighbors looking out their windows while I was loading my car, presumably curious about the drama. I felt totally alone, deceived, and embarrassed. As soon as I was in my car, I called Aunt Margaret, crying so hard that I could not speak. Without asking any questions, she told me to come to her apartment right away. Without her, I'm not sure how I would have made it through. I'm currently residing at Aunt Margaret's home, with her offer of a place to stay and her assurance that she still wants to assist with my MBA. She has been a tremendous support system. Nevertheless, I vividly remember that night. Sarah, standing there with that arrogant expression on her face, knowing she had won, my parents glaring at me like I was a criminal, and all of my belongings packed away when I walked into my house. I don't know. I'm not sure what to do. Reddit. A part of me wants to defend myself and show that Sarah was lying. If I looked closely enough, I could certainly find proof that the emails were forged, but I also want to break all connections and never look back. For those who are so eager to assume the worst of me, why should I fight? How can I possibly comprehend this betrayal? Given that my own family has abandoned me, how can I go on? In a few weeks, the MBA program will begin, and I should be thrilled. However, I'm coping with this emotional trauma instead. I keep going over everything again in my mind, wondering if I missed any clues. Was Sarah this cunning all the time? Were my parents as eager to discard me all the time after this? How can I ever trust anyone again? Aunt Margaret advises me to concentrate on the chances my MBA will present for my future. Although it's difficult to look past the hurt and rage in the moment, she claims that achievement is the best form of retaliation. I would appreciate any guidance from here. How do I reconstruct my life, given that my own sister would go to such extremes to harm me? How do I handle this when I feel so damaged on the inside? How do I interact with my MBA program instructors and classmates? Here, I feel like I'm drowning. Give me a lifeline. Reddit, if you can. Update 1. It's been a long time, 3 years to be precise, since I last wrote about my family throwing me out. A lot has happened. I wanted to let you know how things have progressed. I started by finishing my MBA program, which had a profound impact on me. I was in a lot of mental upheaval when I first started, but I was able to focus all of that energy on my academics. I graduated at the top of my class, but it wasn't easy. The girl who constantly felt inferior is no longer there. She has been replaced with a lady who is confident in her abilities and doesn't hesitate to express them. I got a job at a prestigious consulting business after graduating. I love my job, but it's tough. I'm in a setting where my abilities and diligence are truly valued for the first time in my life. No more living in the shadow of others. During all of this, Aunt Margaret has been a rock. She's become the loving family I never had, not just a place to stay. We discuss everything from her most intriguing medical cases to my most recent professional endeavors during our weekly dinners. I've learned so much from her about defending my rights and appreciating my own worth. 3 years of radio silence about Sarah and my parents. No emails, texts, or phone calls. It was painful at first. However, as time went on, I came to see that their absence was enabling me to develop in ways that I could not have while living with them. I've created a proud life for myself, free from the need for approval and continual comparisons. However, life can be unpredictable. Last Saturday, just when I thought I had everything worked out, Sarah arrived at my door. I nearly failed to identify her. The air of superiority and the fancy attire vanished. She was wearing a basic sweater and jeans that had seen better days, and she had big circles under her eyes, with her hair pulled up in a hurry. She looked discouraged. "Hey," she said in a little voice. "Can we talk?" Curiosity overcame me. I wanted to slam the door in her face. I opened the door for her. Sarah sat uncomfortably, fidgeting on the couch. "I need your help," she blurted out at last. "The family is having problems." "Serious problems," she said. "The family firm," she said, "was close to going bankrupt. Our parents' much anticipated large expansion had turned out to be a complete failure. They were drowning in debt because they had overextended themselves and took out large loans." When Sarah said, "Dad's talking about filing for bankruptcy," her voice broke. Mom is in disarray, and I'm at a loss for what to do. As I listened, I experienced a range of feelings. I had a sick sense of satisfaction. Wasn't this retribution for the way they handled me? However, I also experienced a twinge of not quite pity, but a near feeling. "Why are you telling me this?" I inquired. "What do you expect me to do?" Sarah's eyes were filled with desperation as she gazed at me. "You're doing fantastically in your new work and with your MBA. I hope you may be able to assist, offer some guidance, or—" I understood what she was asking, but she didn't finish the phrase. She desired money. The black sheep is being rescued by the golden child. The irony was nearly unbearable. "Let me get this straight." Maintaining a calm voice after everything that happened, after 3 years of silence, you show up asking for help? Sarah was gracious enough to appear embarrassed. Quietly, she said, "I know I messed up. I felt envious." "All right, you were always so capable and intelligent. I lost it when I learned that Aunt Margaret was assisting you. I apologize." After 3 years, all she could do was apologize. It was dreadfully insufficient. "Sorry doesn't cut it, Sarah," I responded. "You have no idea what I've been through because of what you did." "I know," she responded, her eyes welling with tears. "But we're still related, aren't we? Family members support one another. Just give it some thought, please." Family. The word struck me hard. After everything that had transpired, were we still related? I informed Sarah that I needed some time to reflect. With a disappointed expression, she left her number and left, and now I'm here, attempting to decide what to do. On the one hand, I've put a lot of effort into creating this new life for myself. The familial drama, the incessant comparisons, and the sense of inadequacy have all finally left me. Is it really my intention to become entangled in all of it again? However, a tiny part of me still gives a damn. I feel something when I consider my parents' bankruptcy, not quite pity, but also not disinterest. However, there is a part of me that sees this as a chance to show them what they lost when they rejected me, to definitively demonstrate that I am not the failure they have always believed me to be. However, is it worthwhile after the way they treated me? Do I owe them anything? And would things truly change, even if I did help? Or, regardless of what I do, would I always be the second-best daughter? Reddit. I'm conflicted. How would you respond if I were you? Should I defend myself and let my family work out their own problems? Or should I assist them and run the danger of getting injured again? I've been thinking about it for the past few days, but I'm still not convinced. A part of me wants to step up, offer them a helping hand, and pull them out of this mess. It might present an opportunity to re-establish our relationship on more equal terms. Another part of me, though, is screaming to go away. I'm still recovering from the profound damage they caused me. Would I truly want to expose myself to that suffering once more? Aunt Margaret and I have discussed it. As usual, she has been encouraging, telling me that she will support me no matter what. However, she cautioned me as well. Sometimes helping others means sacrificing yourself, she stated. Make sure you're not setting yourself on fire to keep them warm. I've been distracted recently, and my co-workers have noticed. Some have listened sympathetically, but I haven't told them the specifics. One of them stated, "Sometimes the most professional thing you can do is to keep your personal life separate from your work." That statement has stayed with me ever since. The MBA courses on crisis management and corporate turnarounds are still on my mind. It's likely that I could assist them and provide a strategy for escaping this situation. Should I, though? Am I accountable? What about the apologies from Sarah? Is it sufficient? Is this just another ploy? Or can I believe that she truly feels bad? I'm also concerned about how it might affect my personal financial security. Even though I'm doing well now, I'm not exactly making a ton of money. Assisting them might jeopardize my future ambitions. One thing is certain, this time, whatever I decide, it will be on my terms. I've changed from being that insecure, terrified girl. No matter what occurs with my family, I will always be a strong, accomplished woman who recognizes her value. What do you think, Reddit? Should I put my own health first and let my family deal with the fallout from their choices, or should I offer them assistance? I'd greatly benefit from an independent viewpoint on this. Update 2. It's me again, Reddit. Things have taken a crazy turn since my previous update, and I can't believe I'm back so quickly. Do you recall how I debated whether or not to assist my family with their restaurant problems? The Cosmos, however, chose to give me still another surprise. My parents arrived at my workplace a week following Sarah's visit. You read correctly, my office. They just showed up in the lobby one afternoon after somehow figuring out where I work. Talk about a systemic shock. My assistant buzzed me while I was in the middle of a meeting to let me know that two people were requesting to see me. My heart almost stopped when she told me about them. Feeling as though I was walking to my own death, I excused myself from the meeting and proceeded to the lobby. My parents were there, looking older and more worn out than I had recalled. Dad's shoulders were hunched in a manner I had never seen before, and Mom's hair had turned fully gray. The weight of 3 years of stillness hung between us as we simply stared at one another for a minute. Dad finally stated, "We need to talk," in a rough yet oddly diminutive voice. I took them to a coffee shop nearby, since I didn't want to have this discussion at work. An uneasy hush descended upon us as we sat down with our beverages. Determined not to make things easy for them, I waited for them to speak. Mom was the first to break. She added, "We were wrong," in a shaky voice. "We ought never to have expelled you, ought to have paid attention to you. We sincerely apologize." Over the last 3 years, I had dreamed of this moment countless times, but now that it was actually occurring, I felt nothing. There was only a hollow emptiness, no relief, no joy, not even rage. Dad added his voice, "You should return home. We can overcome this difficult period as a family once more." To give myself some time, I took a drink of my coffee. "Why now?" I inquired. "Why, after 3 years of silence?" After they looked at each other, I realized there was more to this tale. The depth of their desperation became evident as they started to explain. The restaurant was a total failure, not merely having financial difficulties. In addition to going overboard with the expansion, they had been taking shortcuts and breaching the law to stay afloat, including tax evasion, health code infractions, and even some dubious supplier transactions. They now face possible criminal penalties in addition to bankruptcy. Dad said, "We need your help," in a voice that was just audible above a whisper. "Your business knowledge, your connections, you could save us." Stunned, I sat there. My parents, who had dismissed me on false pretenses and had always viewed me as second best, now viewed me as their only hope. "Let me get this straight," I remarked, finding it difficult to maintain my composure. "You kicked me out, believed the worst of me without any proof, didn't contact me for 3 years, and now you want me to bail you out of your illegal activities." Mom attempted to grasp my hand as she reached across the table. I retreated, with tears in her eyes. She continued, "We know we don't deserve your help. However, we remain family. We are at a loss on what to do. So please ... double quotes family." That word was used once more. However, as I observed them, I came to the realization that they were no longer members of my family. Aunt Margaret, a member of my family, had given me unwavering support. My family consisted of the friends I had established at work and in my MBA program, who respected me for who I was. I inhaled deeply. I said, "I'm sorry," and I was surprised at how composed I felt. "But I'm unable to assist you. What you're asking money isn't the only factor. You're asking me to sacrifice all I've worked so hard to achieve, including my job and principles. I'm not capable of doing it." Their shocked expressions were nearly funny. They obviously didn't think I would say no. Anger colored Dad's face. "After everything we've done for you. I interrupted him. "What have you done for me?" "You mean denying me support for my education when you paid for Sarah's, excluding me on false pretenses and favoring her throughout my life." Now Mom was crying aloud. "Please, sweetie, we'll lose everything." I experienced a little pang of guilt. Then I thought back on the previous 3 years, including the hardships, the suffering, and the development and accomplishments I had made on my own. I stood up and said, "I'm sorry you're in this situation, but these are the results of your own actions. I am unable to save you." "We'll be ruined," Dad yelled as I turned to go. "Is it your preference?" I stopped and turned to face them. "I want you to accept responsibility for your actions," I stated. "I want you to understand how much you lost when you threw me out. What I really want, though, is to be free of your drama and manipulation." I left my parents behind and left the coffee shop. After that, I felt as though a burden had been lifted. As I entered the street, I had finally chosen myself, set my boundaries, and confronted them. However, the tale doesn't stop there. I gave that confrontation a lot of thought. I came to the realization that merely leaving was insufficient. My parents' actions were unlawful, and if they persisted, others might suffer harm. I therefore had to make a tough choice. I reported what I learned about the restaurant's unlawful operations to the appropriate authorities, including the police, the IRS, and the health department. Although I knew it was the right decision, it wasn't an easy one. The consequences were severe and quick. Screaming and sobbing, Sarah called me and accused me of ruining the family. I don't know what grounds my parents believed they had, but they alternated between pleading for assistance and threatening legal action in their voicemails. But I didn't back down. I informed the authorities of what I knew and made it apparent that I was not involved in any unlawful activity. Aunt Margaret was there for me during the difficult few weeks, reassuring me that I was acting morally. Although the inquiry is still underway, the eatery has reportedly been closed while a thorough audit is conducted. Sarah and my parents are facing severe legal repercussions. Although it's not a joyous conclusion, it's a fair one. In my case, I'm doing all right actually, better than all right, with everything. There's a feeling of closure. The harmful family dynamics that hindered me for so long have now been broken. I have a successful career. I've even received an approach regarding a possible promotion. I feel like I found a true professional home because of how supportive my co-workers have been during this process. I've never been closer to Aunt Margaret. After everything calms down, we're arranging a trip together so we have something to look forward to after all this worrying. I'm not going to act like it's been simple. There are times when I question whether I made the correct decision and feel bad. However, I know I made the correct decision when I think back on all the suffering they inflicted on me, including the years of manipulation and partiality. Here I am, then. I felt confused and alone after being evicted from my house 3 years ago. I am now independent, prosperous in my work, surrounded by individuals who truly care about me, and at last, free from my family's poisonous influence. Although some may have wished for a joyous family reunion, this is my tale, and I'm proud of the progress I've made. Remember this: if you're struggling with toxic family members or tough choices, you have the right to put your own health first. You are entitled to establish limits. Additionally, there are instances when the family you choose matters more than the one you were born into. I appreciate Reddit's support along this journey. You have no idea how much your guidance and assistance have meant. Cheers to fresh starts and making our own happiness. Thank you for watching. If you haven't subscribed yet, please do so and hit the notification bell to stay updated with more shocking real-life stories happening around you. I've been taking care of my wife's best friend's kid. I'm exhausted, so I told my wife that I'm tired of raising a kid that is not mine. Am I the whole? I 31, male, am married to my wife Amber 30, female, and we have a daughter, Emma 7, female. The problem is, my wife's best friend Jennifer has a daughter named Harper 7, female. Harper's dad is a lazy sack of crap and refuses to do anything with his daughter. He is the type of guy that brags about how he never changed a diaper. To elaborate, Harper's dad epitomizes the worst kind of uninvolved parenting. While most fathers would cherish the opportunity to bond with their children, he prides himself on his detachment. His lack of participation isn't limited to diaper changes. It extends to every aspect of Harper's upbringing. He doesn't attend her school events, help with homework, or show any interest in her hobbies. His weekends are spent drinking and watching sports, completely ignoring Harper's need for a father figure. Jennifer, despite her best efforts, struggles to fill the void left by Harper's dad. She juggles work, household responsibilities, and trying to be both mother and father to Harper. The emotional and financial burden is immense, and it's clear that Jennifer is often exhausted and overwhelmed. This situation has led Jennifer and Harper to spend most weekends at our house, while Harper's dad is drinking and watching sports all weekend. Amber and Jennifer have been best friends for years, and Amber feels a strong sense of duty to support Jennifer and Harper. However, this dynamic has created a unique set of challenges for me. Every Saturday, the time I had hoped to dedicate exclusively to Emma is now shared with Harper. It's not that I don't care for Harper, but the situation feels unfair, especially when Harper's own father should be stepping up. My frustration boils over when I think about how Harper's dad's neglect impacts not only Jennifer and Harper, but also my family. It's disheartening to see such a blatant disregard for parental responsibilities. His behavior isn't just lazy, it's irresponsible and selfish. He seems content to let others pick up his slack while he remains in his bubble of indifference. The resentment builds as I find myself taking on roles that Harper's dad should fulfill. Whether it's teaching the girls to ride bikes, taking them to dance class, or simply being a present and attentive father figure, these responsibilities weigh heavily on me. It's not Harper's fault, and I know that, but the constant intrusion on my father-daughter time with Emma leaves me feeling increasingly resentful. What's worse is that Harper's dad's attitude hasn't changed despite numerous opportunities for him to step up. He remains steadfast in his neglect, leaving Jennifer and Harper to fend for themselves. This ongoing neglect not only affects Harper's emotional well-being, but also places an undue burden on Jennifer, who is left to shoulder the parental responsibilities alone. It's a cycle of frustration and disappointment that affects everyone involved. In conclusion, while my wife and I strive to support Jennifer and Harper, the situation with Harper's dad remains a significant source of tension. His failure to be a responsible parent impacts not only his own family, but also ours. As we find ourselves compensating for his shortcomings, Mother's Day was the last straw. That Saturday morning, I took both Emma and Harper to their dance class. Amber and I pay for both girls' classes because Harper's dad, the deadbeat, won't contribute a cent. This has always been a sore point for me, but I've tolerated it for the sake of peace. However, this Mother's Day pushed me over the edge. After dance class, Emma asked if we could stop to get something for her mom for Mother's Day. I agreed, wanting to make the day special for Amber. But as soon as Harper heard this, she asked if we could also get something for her mom, Jennifer. Instantly, a wave of frustration washed over me. Why was it falling on me to buy a Mother's Day gift for someone else's wife? That's her dad's responsibility, not mine. As we drove home, I couldn't shake off the anger bubbling inside me. Here I was, trying to do something nice for Amber, and it turned into another chore imposed by Harper's dad's neglect. I couldn't help but think about all the times I've had to step in for him, whether it's dance class fees or buying Mother's Day gifts. His absence is constantly felt. It's not just about the money. It's about the principle. This man is shirking his duties, and I'm left picking up the pieces. A few days later, after Mother's Day had passed, I decided it was time to speak up. I didn't want to ruin the holiday for Amber, so I waited until the right moment. When I finally broached the subject with her, I tried to be as calm and rational as possible. I told her that I was tired of raising Harper and that her real father needed to step up. I expressed how it was taking away precious time I wanted to spend with Emma. It's not that I don't care about Harper, but the constant burden was becoming too much. Amber didn't take it well. She insisted that Jennifer is her best friend and that we need to be there for Harper. I understand her perspective, but it felt like my concerns were being dismissed. The conversation quickly turned heated, and Amber ended up not speaking to me. She's been sleeping in the guest bedroom ever since. The silence in our home is deafening. I didn't want to cause a rift, but I felt like I had no choice but to voice my frustration. It's hard enough balancing work and family life without the added pressure of compensating for Harper's dad's negligence. I hoped that Amber would understand where I was coming from, but instead, it feels like she's chosen Jennifer's needs over mine. This situation has left me feeling isolated and misunderstood. I love Amber, and I want to support her, but I also need her to see how this is affecting me and our family. I'm at a loss for how to move forward. I just wanted to add some additional info. Emma and Harper are best friends. Their bond is incredibly strong, and they do almost everything together. Seeing them so close is heartwarming, but it also complicates things because of their friendship. Harper is almost always at our house, especially on weekends. It was my idea to spend Saturdays with Emma. I work long hours during the week and don't get to see her as much as I'd like. Saturdays were supposed to be our special time together, a chance for me to reconnect with my daughter and create lasting memories. I also wanted to give Amber a bit of a break, some time for herself to relax and recharge. However, this plan often gets overshadowed by the presence of Harper. We pay for both girls' activities because Jennifer's husband, the deadbeat, thinks it's a waste of money to pay for dance class. Jennifer can't afford to pay by herself, so we cover the costs for Harper as well. It's frustrating because this isn't our responsibility, but we do it to ensure Harper doesn't miss out on opportunities she deserves. Jennifer and Harper do things with Amber and Emma once or twice a week during the weeknights. These outings help strengthen their bond and provide some support to Jennifer, who is struggling to manage everything on her own. While I understand the importance of these interactions, it adds to the ongoing issue of Harper's father's neglect. He should be the one stepping up and providing for his daughter, not relying on us to fill in the gaps. Update. One thing at home was much worse than I was aware of for Jennifer, and my wife had only recently found out how bad things were. Jennifer had been dealing with a lot more than I had imagined. Her husband's neglect and emotional absence were just the tip of the iceberg. The situation was dire, and Jennifer was struggling to keep it all together for Harper's sake. Mother's Day was the straw that broke the camel's back for Jennifer as well. She grew up in a family that believed you must stay together for the kids no matter what. But when Harper came to me for a Mother's Day gift, Jennifer had a revelation. She realized that her daughter did not see her biological father as a real dad. This moment was pivotal. It was a harsh reality check for Jennifer, making her see that staying with her husband was doing more harm than good. It was time for her to get out. Jennifer came to my wife to ask for help leaving because she had no family in the area and lacked the financial resources to leave on her own. She was desperate and had nowhere else to turn. Jennifer confided in Amber, revealing the true extent of her struggles. She was trapped in a toxic and neglectful environment, and the situation had reached a breaking point. Amber, always the compassionate friend, was deeply moved by Jennifer's plight. She knew that Jennifer needed support and a safe place to stay. So, the night my wife was going to ask me if we could help Jennifer, you and I, completely unaware of the depth of Jennifer's situation, told her I was tired of raising someone else's kid. My frustration with Harper's father's negligence had built up, and I vented to Amber without realizing the full picture. That's what caused Amber's strong reaction. The Saturday after our initial argument, Jennifer did not come over, and Emma went to her grandparents'. This break from the usual routine gave Amber and me a chance to have a long, uninterrupted discussion about what was really going on. Amber shared everything she had learned about Jennifer's dire circumstances. The gravity of her situation hit me hard. It wasn't just about Harper's father being a deadbeat. Jennifer was in a crisis and needed our help more than ever. Hearing the full story, I felt a deep sense of regret for my earlier outburst. Jennifer wasn't just dealing with an uninvolved partner. She was facing a serious crisis with no support system in place. Her plea to Amber wasn't just a casual ask for help, it was a desperate cry for assistance from someone she trusted. Amber's explanation made me see the situation from a different perspective. Jennifer and Harper needed more than just occasional help. They needed a stable, safe environment where they could start rebuilding their lives. My initial frustrations seemed trivial in comparison to the urgency of Jennifer's need for a lifeline. With this newfound understanding, Amber and I decided to open our home to Jennifer and Harper. It was clear that they had nowhere else to go, and turning them away was not an option. Our focus shifted from the inconvenience of the situation to the necessity of providing support for someone in genuine need. Amber and I decided that Jennifer and Harper could stay with us for the time being. My problem was never with those two. It was that I had to take over for the deadbeat. Knowing the full context, I couldn't turn my back on them. They needed us. When we told Emma about this, she was super happy that her best friend was staying with her. We had a conversation with her, explaining that if she wanted to have time with either parent without Harper, she just needed to let us know. We assured her that we didn't want her to feel left out of anything. Last weekend, with the help of U-Haul and some friends, we got all of Jennifer's and Harper's stuff and moved it into our house. The good thing is we have a 4-bedroom house, so everyone gets a bedroom. The bad news is my wife's office moved to the basement, which isn't ideal, but necessary under the circumstances. Wish me luck. We shall see how this goes. This situation is far from easy, but knowing the full story has given me a new perspective. We're doing the right thing by helping Jennifer and Harper, and hopefully, we'll come out of this stronger as a family. Update 2. Jun and Harper are still living with us. As I mentioned before, Jun did not make that much money. She worked as a florist for our local health network, which didn't pay well enough to support herself and Harper independently. Despite her dedication and hard work, the financial strain was a constant burden. The good news is that, with the current nursing shortage, the health network introduced a program that pays for employees to go to nursing school. This opportunity was a lifeline for Jun. She was able to start the program at the end of August. It was a significant step forward for her, offering a chance to improve her financial situation and secure a better future for herself and Harper. However, the program came with its own set of challenges. It's an 18-month intensive course, and participants are only allowed to work 20 hours a week while enrolled. This meant that Jen's already tight finances would be stretched even thinner during this period. She would need to juggle studying, limited work hours, and caring for Harper all while living with us. The arrangement we came to was that once Jun graduates, she will move out. This plan gave her a clear goal to work towards and provided a timeline for us as well. It's a challenging path, but the end result would be worth it. Jen's graduation is expected to be next May, which feels both far away and just around the corner. In the meantime, our household dynamics have to adapt to accommodate Jen's rigorous schedule. She spends most of her time either studying or working her reduced hours. It's a demanding routine, but she's incredibly determined and focused on making it through the program. The support system we provide is crucial, giving her the stability and peace of mind she needs to concentrate on her studies. We've all made adjustments to help Jeanne succeed. Amber and I take on additional responsibilities to ensure that Harper's needs are met and that Jeanne has the space and time to study. It's a team effort, and while it's not always easy, we all understand the importance of what Jeanne is working towards. The prospect of Jeanne becoming a nurse is a beacon of hope. It promises a better future for her and Harper, free from the financial insecurities that have plagued them. While the present situation is tough, the light at the end of the tunnel keeps us all motivated. We look forward to celebrating her graduation and the new opportunities it will bring for her family. In the meantime, the divorce with the deadbeat is still ongoing. Once he found out he was going to have to pay child support, he tried every dirty, nasty trick he could think of. It's been a nightmare for Jennifer, who already has enough on her plate with nursing school and caring for Harper. Deadbeat's tactics have ranged from delaying court proceedings to making false accusations against Jennifer. He's done everything he can to avoid his financial responsibilities, dragging out the process as long as possible. Each new trick he pulls seems designed to make Jennifer's life more difficult and stressful. For example, he's constantly failing to show up for court dates, forcing them to be rescheduled and prolonging the whole ordeal. He's also tried to claim that Jennifer is an unfit mother, despite having no evidence to back up his accusations. These claims are baseless, but they add emotional strain and complicate the legal proceedings. Every time Jennifer thinks she's made progress, Deadbeat throws another wrench into the works. It's exhausting and demoralizing, but she remains determined to see it through. She knows that getting the divorce finalized and securing child support is crucial for Harper's well-being and their future stability. The legal fees are piling up, and the financial strain is intense, especially with Jennifer's reduced work hours to nursing school. We do our best to support her emotionally and financially, but it's a heavy burden. The uncertainty of not knowing when the divorce will be finalized adds to the stress. Despite the challenges, Jennifer remains resolute. She's focused on her goals, completing nursing school, securing a stable income, and ensuring a better life for Harper. It's a difficult road, but she's not facing it alone. We're here to help her navigate the twists and turns of this prolonged and bitter divorce battle. It's a frustrating situation for all of us. The sooner the divorce is finalized, the sooner Jennifer and Harper can move forward without the shadow of deadbeat looming over them. My wife is doing good. She is happy. She is helping her best friend. However, having 5 people in the house is a lot more work than having 3. Since she works from home, the pre- and post-school work often falls on her. Despite the added workload, Amber remains positive and dedicated to making this arrangement work for everyone. Emma and Harper are still best friends, and their bond is as strong as ever. Shockingly, Harper is doing much better in this environment than before. The stability and support she receives here have had a noticeable positive impact on her. They don't do everything together anymore, which has allowed both girls to explore their individual interests. Harper quit dance class, but she started with soccer, which she really enjoys. I think knowing that she will get fatherly attention no matter what she is doing has given her some freedom to pursue other interests. It's heartwarming to see her confidence grow as she finds new activities that she loves. Interestingly, Harper has turned into my Lego buddy. Emma never had any interest in Legos, but Harper and I have done some nice sets together. This has become a special bonding activity for us. Building Legos not only provides a fun pastime, but also gives Harper the fatherly attention she has been missing. It's rewarding to see her enthusiasm and creativity flourish through our Lego projects. Amber and I work hard to balance our responsibilities and ensure that both Emma and Harper feel supported and loved. While the dynamics of our household have certainly changed, we're adapting and finding new ways to connect and spend quality time together. It's not always easy, but seeing the positive impact on Harper and the strong friendship between the girls makes it all worthwhile. Emma and I still have our daddy-daughter dates on the weekend. I still take her to dance class, and she recently started taking fencing classes. Watching her learn defense has been both exciting and a little intimidating. I don't know if I should be proud or scared that she could defeat me in a sword fight one day. It's incredible to see her develop new skills and interests, and our time together remains special and cherished. A year later, I think I am doing better. Having a plan with a timetable for Jeanne and Harper has relieved a lot of stress from my life. Knowing that there is an end goal in sight helps me manage the day-to-day challenges more effectively. The fact that I also don't have to see Deadbeat has been a significant relief. His absence from our lives has removed a source of constant tension and frustration. I also try to take a few hours a month for myself to do my hobbies. These moments of me time are crucial for my mental well-being and help me recharge. Whether it's working on a personal project or just relaxing, these breaks are essential in maintaining my balance. The bad part is I had thought that I was done with the portion of my life where I had roommates. Adjusting to having more people in the house has been challenging. While we all get along and support each other, the lack of privacy and the constant activity can be overwhelming at times. It will be a relief when Jeanne either gets her nursing job or secures child support so that Amber and I can stop footing the bill for so much. Despite the challenges, there have been many joyful moments. Watching Harper flourish in a supportive environment, seeing Emma and Harper's friendship grow, and even building Lego sets together. These small moments of happiness are precious. They remind me to appreciate the good amidst the difficult. In the midst of supporting others, I learned the importance of self-care. Taking time for my hobbies and personal interests has been crucial for maintaining my mental and emotional well-being. You can't pour from an empty cup. Taking care of myself enables me to better support my family